Have you ever asked yourself, do I need an LLC? Well, if so, you're in the right place. In this video, we're going to dive headfirst into the world of LLCs. By the end of the video, you'll be well equipped to decide whether an LLC is the right vehicle for you to start your own business. Before we start discussing whether an LLC is right for you, let's first understand what an LLC even is. Now, as I've covered in other videos, there's different types of business entities you can start. An LLC starts for a limited liability corporation. Wrong. An LLC stands for a limited liability company. Again, not limited liability corporation, not limited liability cooperation, limited liability company. And this is important because when you abbreviate it, you should know what you're abbreviating. LLCs have become extremely popular over the years because they are simple business entity to set up that gives you limited liability protection. And now, what is limited liability protection? Limited liability protection means essentially that you are shielding your personal assets from the business. So if there's a claim against the business, your personal assets will no longer be at risk because there's a wall created between your business and your personal assets. That's what limited liability essentially means. This also applies to corporations and limited partnerships, other types of business entities. But in the context of a limited liability company, it means you have a business entity and it is separate from your personal finances. And generally speaking, it means that your personal assets will not be on the line if there's a claim against the business. Now, there are three primary benefits of a limited liability company that you should know. The first one is limited liability, the fact that your personal assets are shielded. Second, unlike corporations, limited liability companies have more relaxed structures. They're generally a product of contract using an operating agreement, which means that you can actually include a lot more terms, and the rights and responsibilities and obligations of the parties are generally decided by you and not so much decided by the state in which you're in. Though it is important to know that many states have limited liability acts that do not allow you to do certain things like waive all fiduciary duties, for example. Third, with an LLC, the members have an ability to choose between the different types of taxation. So, for example, with an LLC, you can check a box to be taxed as a corporation or even an S corporation. So now that we have the basics of what an LLC is, let's decide whether it's right for you. Limited liability companies are great if you're trying to lower your personal risk in terms of limiting liability against your personal assets. They're also great if you're looking for a pass-through entity. That means if you're looking for a tax structure that passes through as opposed to a corporation that has a double taxation, a limited liability company can be great. Next, if you're looking for simplified compliance, LLCs are often a little bit simpler to manage than a corporation or different type of business entity. Next, also think about the flexible management structure. LLCs, you can have managers, you can have members being managers, you can have different types of management structures with LLCs, and they're fairly flexible. So that's another benefit of having an LLC. And lastly, LLCs do give you a bit of credibility over sole proprietorship. When you're an LLC, now you can actually hold yourself out as, oh, I'm a separate business entity. It maybe sounds a little bit more formal as opposed to just throwing up a name one day or buying a domain and saying, hey, I'm in business. It shows others that you've gone through the process of actually setting up a business correctly, and you are now serious about this business. However, not everything is fantastic about an LLC, okay? While there are many advantages, there's also some unique considerations to keep in mind when you're deciding whether an LLC is right for you. The first thing to consider is self-employment taxes. With an LLC, you're still paying self-employment taxes, just like a sole proprietorship. So even if you start an LLC and all the taxes are passed through, you're going to be still paying that about 15% additional in self-employment taxes on those distributions. Next, you want to consider the limited growth potential. If you want to go IPO, if you want to really scale this thing, offer options, have complex share structures, LLCs may not be the ideal business form for you because they are not great when you're trying to give out options. They have unique taxation rules that a lot of VCs and private equity companies don't necessarily like. So you want to consider, okay, what are the tax implications of having an LLC? Perhaps you could check the box and be a corporation later on, or even an S corporation, but even there are potential drawbacks there. Furthermore, if you are a startup, you want to remember that you do not qualify for the QSBS or Qualified Small Business Stock Exemption with an LLC. You have to be a corporation to actually qualify for that exemption, and that exemption gives investors a huge tax break on their capital gains tax if there's a sale after 5 years. So if you are looking for an exit after 5 years, that could be in the multiple, 7 figures, 8 figures, then you want to really consider not starting with an LLC off the bat, because that could really jeopardize your ability to provide this attractive tax benefit to investors later on. Lastly, you want to consider the perpetual existence of the LLC. In some states, an LLC may be dissolved if a member passes away or something happens to a member and a member leaves. So you want to think about, okay, what happens to the LLC in the event that someone leaves? And you want to make sure that's accounted for in the operating agreement, and make sure that if it's not accounted for, then that your state doesn't automatically dissolve your LLC if a member leaves. These are unique nuances that no one really thinks about, but important to consider early on and should be addressed in your operating agreement. And every LLC should have an operating agreement. Choosing the correct business structure is a critical step in your entrepreneurial journey. While yes, business structures can change over the course of your business, it's important to get it right early on because they'll save you a lot of time, effort, and potentially money. To help you make an informed choice, here's a few essential factors you want to make sure you consider. 1, your business goals. What is your goal with this company? Is it to just make a little bit of money and pay for bills, pay for your lifestyle, or is it to really grow and scale and potentially have an IPO, have a big exit by some large VC or private equity firm? Those are two very different goals and will determine whether an LLC is right for you or perhaps a different business entity like an S corporation or a corporation. Next, you want to consider the risk involved. How much risk are you undertaking with this company? Are you doing something that could potentially lead to lawsuits? Are you producing something that may have inherent risks in it? These are all things you want to consider when you're creating your LLC. Next, what are the tax implications? What does it mean to have an LLC that is taxed as a partnership? If you're a single member LLC, what does it mean to have a disregarded entity? Meaning that you're a single member and now you don't have to actually create a separate tax return. You can file for your LLC taxes on your own individual tax return. What are the benefits of that? What are the drawbacks? Those are things you want to consider and also discuss with your accountant. And last, what are your future growth plans? Not only what do you want to create today, but what do you want to create in the future? It's a really important question because what you want to do in the future will dictate how you structure that entity now, and it's important to really consider that as you start your entrepreneurial journey. And to make things a little clearer, I want to give you 2 real-life examples that you consider when you're deciding whether you should start an LLC or a different type of business entity. The first one is Sarah's online boutique. Now for Sarah, an LLC makes perfect sense because she's just starting a small company, wants a limited liability protection. She also wanted something simple and easy to set up that wouldn't take a lot of time or money, that would allow her the legitimacy of having an online business, but also separation from her personal assets and life. LLC is great for her because it'll allow her to make money and also have a formal business structure. On the other hand, let's take Mike's tech startup. Mike actually opted to create a Delaware corporation because he's looking for massive growth. He's looking to scale quickly and he's looking for investment. And for those reasons, a Delaware corporation or other type of corporation may be better for Mike because he's looking for investors, which oftentimes prefer C corporations, as well as looking to have options and other types of equity incentives that aren't always available or easily available with LLCs. So he opted for a Delaware corporation. Remember, choosing the right business structure is a significant decision in your entrepreneurial journey, and it's essential to weigh the pros and cons carefully. With the information provided and discussing also the tax implications with your accountant or CPA, I think you'll make the perfect decision. Thank you for watching this video, and I really hope you enjoyed the content. Please like or subscribe. It means the world to me, and I'm going to continue to put out content, and I'd love to hear back from you if there's more you'd like to see, if there's more information you'd like to know about anything about starting businesses, growing businesses, or scaling businesses. I'm Pankaj Raval, your business attorney and advisor. Can't wait to see you next.